it's shocker. Days after patch 80 came out, there has been a patch 80.2, and here are the following changes. Pickpocket used to crash servers, and now it has returned. We can use Pickpocket once again. And HR has been changed dramatically. There is no longer an entry fee. It's always 0 at every tier, at every level. And some AP is gained when going in the dungeon, and some AP gained while in the dungeon is kept even upon death. So death doesn't cancel out anything you've done in the dungeon. You can grind without fear of anything lost except for gear. I think considering the drastic changes they've done to HR, this is a good call because many people have complained that it is much more difficult to farm AP now, and it's quite disorienting to have such a drastic change mid-season to how AP farming works. So overall, a positive change. I think the community should be pretty happy about this one. Next, more about HR. Blue portals spawns are random, and apparently they could spawn in the boss rooms. They fixed this so that it no longer spawns in boss rooms. I imagine this is crypts and hell they're talking about specifically, so it should no longer be able to spawn there. This next change says it's for crypts in general, but I believe this is mainly for HR. In HR, usually you would see maybe one or even no hell stairs at all. You would rely solely on red portals to go from crypt to hell. Looks like this wasn't intentional, so they will be making it so that at least 2 hell stairs exist per map when in HR. I'm going to call that most likely the map layouts are different between normals and HR, in that HR is supposed to be more dense with modules that allow for AP farming, so they've just kind of messed up some of the layouts and they just didn't have many hell portals spawning, so hopefully this balances that out. Maps and PvE, Goblin Caves, apparently ores would spawn in some areas that were unintended, so now they won't spawn in those areas. Most likely the areas that we expect them most to be, which is the mid module and the originally top right mining module, are the main ore spots. Ruins, there were many places that you could get stuck in ruins, and these are just the different places that have been patched up so that you don't get stuck between the walls, between modules, as the modules are mashed together in this new randomized ruins. Other changes, the arena zone sometimes would zone in onto one of the team's spawn areas. So it shouldn't do that anymore. It should lock in on an area somewhere in the middle and not zone in onto a room behind a closed door of a spawn of one of the teams. Sorcerer mana flow, the visual effects have been improved. I tried this in game. It looks about the same, maybe. And lastly, Epic Games migration is going to be happening. Epic Games users need to move over to Blacksmith. I'm going to call it. I think the reason this is happening is because one of the days Iron Mace made Dark and Darker Legendary Edition free for 24 hours on Epic Games, and that brought into flux a huge flux of cheaters that would dupe items. Just crazy amount of accounts were created, which I'm sure in some ways helped the numbers for Iron Mace on Dark and Darker, but I'm sure it brought its own issues of dealing with all of the reports and all of the problems of all these players that are playing on bot accounts to avoid being banned. I could see this being actually not really what's going on, and what's really going on is that migrating accounts over as a bot is way less likely. Instead of having to deal with all these bot accounts, they just make you get off Epic Games altogether, so you don't have to deal with those bot accounts. A small portion of those bot accounts will actually migrate. Most of the bot accounts will not. They'll miss the window. The problem will solve itself. That's my guess on what's going on. It might not be, but I could really see that happening. I could see them do this just to get rid of that problem. Only real users will actually probably go through the trouble of migrating their account over, and the people who weren't on there, that doesn't even affect them. So anyway, that's the entire new update, and I'll see you guys in the next one.